All right, we'll start with
You also
communications.
have the, sorry, Council President.
Go
you also
right
have
ahead.
The special meeting of July 21st there.
Okay. And I'll accept a motion to accept the special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, the special meeting minutes are approved as well. We will go next to communications from the mayor. Good evening.
Well, good evening, Council President and members of the governing body. We have a proclamation to present this evening, and I'll ask our business administrator to read the proclamation, and then I will present it.
Okay. Whereas the City of Plainfield recognizes the outstanding service and dedication of Sergeant Keisha Bethia, Emergency Management Coordinator, in response to the recent storms, and whereas the significant storms caused widespread impact and damages, threatening the safety and well-being of our residents, and whereas the Office of Emergency Management, under the leadership of Sergeant Keisha Bethia, played a critical role in coordinating emergency response efforts, demonstrating unwavering dedication and professionalism in managing the situation. And whereas Sergeant Keisha Bethia and the emergency management team worked tirelessly to implement necessary emergency management operations, ensure the safety of residents, and protect the resources of the City of Plainfield. And whereas their efforts included establishing shelter for residents with no electricity, providing resources like bags of ice and water, and coordinating with other agencies within the state and county, police and fire departments, Department of Public Works, school district, Red Cross, etc. And whereas the response demonstrated effective leadership, partnership, coordination, and resourcefulness in the face of challenging circumstances. And whereas the dedication and commitment of Sergeant Keisha Bethia and the emergency response team contributed significantly to minimizing the impact of the storm and ensuring the safety of our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, he, Adrian O. Mapp, Mayor of Plainfield, New Jersey, formally recognize and commend Sergeant Keisha Bethia for her outstanding service and dedication to the residents of Plainfield during the storm events. This recognition also serves as a testament to the vital role played by emergency response professionals in safeguarding the community during times of crisis. This proclamation acknowledges their crucial work in emergency preparedness, response, and recovery efforts.
And Council President, if you and the members of the governing body would like to join me as we present this proclamation,
We'd be more than happy to.
thank you. So you all have heard the message of the proclamation, but all of the members of the governing body, as well as my administration, all play a role in dealing with the recent flooding that Plainfield experienced over the last month or so. And Sergeant Bethia, who's our OEM coordinator, she was baptized by fire. And she was forced to drink from a fire hose for a number of weeks. And someone who was new in the job, having been appointed probably sometime in the spring, maybe less than a week, less than a month before these events hit our city, she did an outstanding job. And she was there around the clock. And we couldn't have asked for a better person to be in the role at this time than Sergeant Keisha Bethia. And so we want to really thank you for the work that you've done and for what you will continue to do as our OEM coordinator. What you've done has been outstanding, and we thank you for that. And I don't know if the council president would like to join me in saying a few words.
Yes, indeed. We still suffer the effects of the devastating tornado and flood. But this was an effort where the council came together, the administration came together, the community came together, even with a benefit that we had for the benefit of our residents. And Sergeant Bethia was there every step of the way. I can guarantee you that she got the least amount of sleep of anyone during that entire ordeal. The role that she took, she stepped up to the plate. She took it extremely seriously. Probably even compromised her own sanity and health in making sure that we as the city of Plainfield got through this tumultuous time. So for that, I applaud her. I'm proud of her. I am grateful to be continually led by her. Knowing that she's in that position, all Plainfield should rest well, knowing that we have such a fighter, such a tireless worker in a role of OEM coordinator. So I just want to give her her props and her flowers today and thank her for her awesome service. And hopefully you won't have to do that again anytime soon, you know, because you might not have caught up on your sleep. But we are grateful for all your efforts, and they have not gone unnoticed by this governing body and this council. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we present you with this proclamation, and may you continue to serve us in the manner in which you have so far. And we thank you for that.
Thank you. I do. Good evening, everyone. I have to say thank you to the mayor, as well as the administration, council, Director Childress, Director Abney, Director Brown, you as well. Listen, I want you to understand that I couldn't do this job without a team. We know that teamwork make the dream work, correct?
Right.
And it's not only about me, it's about my team. And only to do this job, it's not only about the team, but it's about the community as well. So the police department, the fire department, DPW, even the parking authority is, I'm telling you, all of us had to be hands-on. Those two storms were devastating. And no, you don't get any rest. It's all about commitment and service. And I just want to say thank you again, and I truly appreciate everyone from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Any more communications from the mayor? Or is that it? That's it, right?
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Okay, regarding ordinances MC 2527 through MC 2025-30 and 32, those are scheduled for public hearing and final passage for the regular meeting as advertised. We now move on to resolutions. The legislative body items are R290, 25 through R294 through 25. Do we have any questions regarding those or a consensus to add them to the voting meeting? We have a consensus to add them? What is that? Second, please. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, the legislative body items have been added. Okay, would the business administrator present the mayoral items?
Yes, thank you, Council President. We have 4 items this evening. The first is a resolution authorizing advice and consent to the appointment of Yasmin Diaz. This is for a municipal court prosecutor. She's filling a vacancy till the end of this year. The next is a resolution in support of the state's legislation, the proposed legislation for the Climate Superfund Act. So this is a bill that would hold the fossil fuel companies liable for the cost of climate change, and it would authorize us with funds to spend on mitigation projects. So it's holding those responsible, accountable via money, and then having people spend that money on flood mitigation and weather mitigation efforts. The next one is advice and consent for the reestablishment and appointments of 6 auxiliary police officers who are listed in the resolution, and we're going to be reestablishing the auxiliary police officers. And finally, we have looking for approval to submit a grant and accept the grant from Union County Kids Recreation Trust Fund. This is going to be for Mathewson Park, and it's going to be to resurface the basketball court and also to make the playground ADA accessible. And we have funds in capital from last year to match this.
Okay. Questions from council members? None at all? Okay. Going once, going twice. Okay, I would like to separate R295-25 regarding Yasmin Diaz.
Oh, okay.
Because I will be abstaining from that. But regarding R296, 297, and 298, do we have consensus to add that to the voting meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstention? Okay, those items will be added. Okay, the Department of Finance. Floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I have 5 items, 5 resolutions for your approval. Resolution 299-25, resolution amending RO 26-25 to authorize the qualified purchasing agent to award window contracts over $17,500 but below the new local unit public bidding threshold of $53,000. What this is every 5 years the state updates the threshold for bidding contracts. Resolution 300-25, resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Allpaid Inc. to provide online payment services at no cost to the city of Plainfield and with a convenience fee to be paid by customers for a 1-year term commencing September 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2026. This is a renewal of the contract for online payment services. Resolution 301-25, Chapter 159, resolution requesting approval to amend current year 2025 municipal budget by inserting 4 items of revenue and appropriation in accordance with NJSA 40A4-87, totaling $2,127,057. 302-25, resolution authorizing the approval to cancel taxes in the amount of $14,830.84 due to 100% disabled veteran exemptions. And finally, resolution authorizing the extension of third quarter taxes grace period to September 9th. This might not go to September 9th because the bills were actually mailed on the 7th, and it's 25 days after that. But it extends the grace period in any case. And that's it from me. Are there any questions?
Questions? Okay, do we have a consensus to add this to the voting meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, shall be added. Police Department. Floor is yours, Director.
Good evening, Council President.
Good evening.
I have 2 items for your consideration. 30425 is a resolution authorizing approval to apply for and accept the Highway Traffic Safety Bureau 2025 Drive Sober Get Pulled Over statewide Labor Day Crackdown Grant in the amount of $8,750. This is a grant that we get every year. I'm glad to say that the department's numbers are always very high in regards to this grant, so we get the maximum funding usually each year. 30525 is a resolution authorizing for year 2 option of a contract with Aeron Security, which is also known as Arrow Security, for armed and unarmed security guards in an amount not to exceed $247,376. This is the armed and unarmed security guards that we now employ at City Hall, the Annex, and the library, which frees up officers to do basically work on the street. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, any questions from council members? Okay, do we have consensus to add these items to the voting meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? All right, that shall be added. All righty. The Department of Public Works, Director?
Good evening, Mr. Council President, members of the council. The Department of Public Works has 9 resolutions to present. Resolution R-30625 is authorizing and approving the state of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres Program, enabling resolution for the Rushmore Park Inclusive Playground. And 0725 is resolution approving the state of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres Program, enabling resolution for the Rushmore Recreation Complex Phase 2. This is all about, these are 2 enabling Green Acres resolutions, reflect and confirm the funding for both grant agreements for the Rushmore Aquatics Complex and inclusive playground projects. Resolution R-30825, authorizing change order number 1, final release of the performance bond, retainage, and final payment amount of $5,066.06, and acceptance of a 2-year maintenance bond for the first place and second place roadway improvements projects to Portofino Builders, LLC. Just for the record, this was reduction to, in terms of the amount of the grant received, with savings of $29,478.91 for that project. Resolution 30925, and that's for as-built materials. That was the reduction that we had for that. Resolution 30925, authorizing change order number 1, final release of performance bond, retainage, and final payment amount of $7,097.23, and acceptance of the 2-year maintenance bond for the East 3rd Street, Leland Avenue, Berkeley Terrace, and Grant Avenue from West 7th Street to Wadsworth Avenue roadway improvement projects. That was another reduction, too, of $86,437.75 from the engineering estimate that we say in reduction. Resolution 31025, reduction in as-built materials. Resolution authorizing change order number 1, final release of the performance bond and acceptance of $19,799.96. This is for core asphalt compaction penalty that was charged against the contractor, and the 2-year maintenance bond for the East 3rd Street roadway improvement projects, Berkeley to Terrell Road, to Spelling and Sons. And when I say for core asphalt, that's the voids in the asphalt that's compacted into the ground. So there's voids in there, and every now and then DOT comes and inspects certain projects, certain roads, to see to make sure that proper compaction is there. So there's some voids in the core, so everything's fine, but we checked it out to make sure it's fine. But there was some little defects in the core, meaning the asphalt itself. So that's what that's all about. Resolution 31125, resolution authorizing professional service contract with Lonely Associates, Inc. And this is for phase 1 in the amount of $75,100. This is for the stormwater NJD mandatory requirements. This is for our watershed. This is a project we have to do. This is by state law. Resolution 31125, resolution authorizing change order number 1 to Diavino Construction, Inc. This is for the Rushmore Recreational Complex Inclusive Playground. But what I'd like to do, if possible, skip the rest of 314, because 314 reflects what 313 and 312 are about. 31425, resolution authorizing an amendment and transfer of local recreational improvement grant funds from Madison Skate Park project to the Rushmore Recreational Aquatics Complex project for fencing, lockers, and bathroom upgrades in an amount not to exceed $169,000. This is a grant that we received, was for remediation work at Madison Skate Park. However, we have enough funding there for that, so this money was able to be moved so we can get more lockers and other upgrades over at the park. So back to 31225, authorizing change order number 1 to Diavino Construction. This is for the Rushmore Recreation Complex Inclusive Playground. in an amount not to exceed $56,007.67. This is for additional fencing on the interior of the park, going around the whole perimeter, like 2,400 linear feet of fencing, 8 foot high. And this mesh fencing that goes in between to keep the bars from being bent, by kids, everything else, what goes on with that. So this would just make it more stern, everything around the park with that. So that's what it does. And plus it keeps that still decorative look of the park with the fencing at the same time. Resolution 31325 is resolution authorizing change order number 2 to Vesco Experience Enterprise. And this is an amount not to exceed $50,000. This is for lockers, bathroom upgrades, et cetera, over at the park itself. We need additional lockers. It started off with like maybe 20 some lockers, so we're up to 60 now. So this will help us get to 60 in terms of lockers. We'll need probably more as time goes on. But this is for additional upgrades there itself. And that concludes my resolutions, President. Any
Okay.
questions?
Any questions from council members?
I had a question. For R312-25, is the fencing for the exterior of the entire park or the exterior of the pool?
No, that's internal. The stairs already there, this is like the wide mesh, but it's going to go and lock and make things internally in the park, around the entire park.
Okay,
Okay, and then we're doing the same around the pool itself too as well.
perfect.
So
Thank
make
you.
the same mess.
And then, is there a timeline to completion of this project?
That's a good question. We're getting close. Sometime this month, everything should be where it should be. In administration, we'll just reach out to everybody, know and everything, but everything's coming up. And unfortunately, the bad weather we had, not make excuses, because we went to perfection, the goal was Memorial Day, but a lot of things happened. Two, not taking sides on anyone, but it happened, we had a lot of rain this year, a lot of things happened, trying to cure and pour cement, things like that happened. And then supply and demand,
Yeah.
certain material was tough too, with who's in the White House, I mean, not no offense to anybody, but a lot of things happened, because things were like more seas and stuff like that, so. But yes, we're close to being there, yes.
Thank you.
And so if I may add, Counselor, to what was just explained, the director did mention the supply chain issues that really delayed this project. But we are now looking at a possible ribbon cutting on the 21st of this month. The drop dead date that we discussed with the vendor was August the 18th. So we're looking at a ribbon cutting on or about August the 21st. And there were situations beyond the control of the vendor. And we were not happy, to say the least. But things are moving.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
We were not happy.
I know our residents will be happy once it opens.
And would that be for the whole complex or just the aquatic portion?
The entire complex excluding the playground, because that's like in the section portion, but everything gets everything. And then maybe we're adamant about what needs to be done to get everything open. Yes.
Thank you.
Further
have a
questions from
question.
council members?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Actually, I had a few questions. And I noticed that there was like a change order, of course, with the monies and the funds. But the first question was, and you kind of explained it, but I just want to make sure I put it on record. And I wanted to ask, are we out of funds to continue the construction of Rushmore? Is that the reason why we're using the money? That's the first question. And you already mentioned the second question, the expecting time of the water park to be done. And there was another question that I wanted to ask. And the monies, you said you transferred it from the Madison Skate Park to the Rushmore Park, correct? Okay, all right. So, and of course, I'm excited about getting this done, and I'm sure as the residents, because they're buzzing all over Plainfield. So if we utilize that money for Rushmore, when or where do you expect to get the money for the Madison Skate Park? When do we expect to get that money? Is there going to be any monies for that, for the Madison Skate Park?
Yes, there is. There's money for outdoor fitness that we're gonna do, but we have to do remediation work there first,
Okay.
okay? Because we found some historic contaminants that we have to get rid of. And we're waiting for the DEP to approve a grant for us.
Okay.
To help offset all of that cost, to remove all that material.
Okay.
And once that's done, yes, there's major upgrades from administration to the park. The outdoor fitness center is going to be there, a double playground, et cetera. So everything's going to be renovated in that park and taken care of. No parks being left behind.
Okay. And was there, and you said for the grant, is there a time limit on this grant that you are transferring over? Do you have to use it by, use it by a certain time, or?
Well, the grant we're using, yes, the LRIC grant, Local Recreation Improvement Grant, yes, that has to be used before April. So there's a lot of things we have to do that's going to help us get everything done with Rushmore and add to it. Lockers, et cetera, and upgrade the bathrooms a little more too, to add some more things to the bathroom. So we don't want to lose that LRIC grant, so we can use that for these funds right here for parks. So we're allowed to transfer that, which was a good thing for us, just to add to some things we want to do, the fencing, et cetera, at Rushmore.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Further questions from council members? Okay, do we have consensus to add this to the voting meeting?
Yes.
So move.
Okay, that sounded very unanimous. Any opposition? Okay, this shall be added to the voting meeting. All right, the Department of Economic Development. Director, you're there?
Good evening, council. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I have items 315-25 through 325-21-25. The first resolution is looking at releasing a maintenance bond. This is for the 829 South Avenue property. This is Netherwood Flats. They have completed the construction, so this is to release the maintenance bond. The next resolution is related to accepting a grant for brownfields remediation. This particular property is for 1092 Arlington Avenue. We received approval from DEP to receive a grant from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. This would be to prove that we actually remediated the site, and now it's ready for redevelopment. The next two resolutions are related to support for the Plainfield Housing Authority. These are, first one is to support 225 senior affordable housing units. These are going to be located at Richmond Towers. This is to support a redevelopment need that's required by the Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency. The next resolution for that is related to Joanne Hollis Gardens. This is to rehabilitate 128 units. This is also for family affordable housing, and this is something that's required from HMFA. We'll be able to pause at the end to ask questions. We do have the Plainfield Housing Authority present, as well as the development attorney for Wind Development that's going to be doing the rehabilitation. The next resolution, looking at 319, this is related to a lease extension. This is for the 508 Watchon Avenue property. We originally signed on for a 5-year lease in 2020. The lease has expired. This is to extend the lease for an additional 5 years. The next resolution, looking at 320, this relates to Ordinance MC 2025-29. This is to waive the estoppel period. The reason why we are requesting to waive the estoppel period in order to have the school year start in time, because this is in support of the Obama Academy using space within the Boys and Girls Club. We would need to forego the estoppel period so they can start that first week in September. The last resolution, looking at 321, this is an acceptance of a grant from the Department of Environmental Protection. This is also to remediate a property. This particular property is related to 520 to 532 South Avenue. That concludes my presentation. I will say we also have the Plainfield Housing Authority as well as their developers present to also answer additional questions.
Okay, questions from council members? And are there any questions of the Housing Authority related developer? If there are, then they're welcome to come to the mic.
Yes, I just want the Housing Authority just to give a general description as to the scope of work that's going to happen with the rehabilitation of the apartments.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Mayor, City Council, and Administration. Randall Woods, my name, Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Plainfield. I have with me also Mr. Keith Kennard, who's Vice President Representative of Wind Development. To answer your question, Councilman Graham, what we're doing, we're looking at Richmond Towers, 225 senior housing units to rehabilitate the building. Okay, it would probably take, it's going to take approximately timeline-wise 15 to 18 months before we really get started. But right now, all the prerequisites, and if you are gratuitous enough to pass the resolution of need, that gets us going. Not only under the prerequisite of New Jersey HMFA, but also under the rules and regulations of repositioning under HUD, Housing and Urban Development, which is Section 18 of the Federal Code. So we're going to rehabilitate there. Also, simultaneously, we're going to be working on Joanne Hollis Gardens, 128 units of our family housing. Now, we're still contemplating demolition or rehabilitation. That decision has to come from HUD. That has to come from HUD. But either way, we're going to make it beautiful. We're not going to, have anybody, let's say, put out. You hear a lot of talk of folks saying, what's going to happen? Are we going to lose our place? If you're in good standing, you will not lose your place. You will not lose your place. We're also, with those that have been struggling through stipulation agreements, we're doing all we can between now and then to make sure they're viable. So we're preparing folks now to be ready for the transition. And unfortunately, you're going to lose some people. Some residents may fall besides, below the wayside, but we're going to do all we can to help those because we don't want to see anybody disenfranchised, put out on the street. That's not what the Housing Authority's about. Okay? I'm going to yield over to
Follow-up question.
Sure.
With regard to the scope of work within the apartments, is that new bathrooms, new kitchens, new appliances?
Everything.
Okay.
Totally gutted.
Okay.
Okay? I'll yield to you.
Good evening. My name is Keith Kennard. I'm the Senior Vice President for Wind Development with Public Housing. And it's an honor to be here this evening. I guess I'll just elaborate a little bit on the scope of work. It is all kind of an iterative process. We have to do a physical needs assessment. We've done that. That has to get examined along with the amount of funding we're able to get both from EDA and HMFA and our own private debt support. So once we kind of pull all of that together, what Mr. Wood said is absolutely within the apartments, there's going to be floors, doors, kitchens, baths, complete gut rehab. But then the rest of it comes for the balance of the building. The resident community spaces, the hallways, the elevators, the pipes behind the walls, the boiler systems, the energy efficiency systems. All of that gets kind of heaped into the mix, prioritized, and addressed.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you.
I had a question, Council President.
Go right ahead.
For Joanne Hollis, there's currently, how many current units are there now? Is it 128?
128.
Is there a possibility to increase with this RAD?
Not with our current process. So our current process, we're really looking to address the units, current units and the current residents. If we would need to talk to the Housing Authority and see if there is a desire to increase density or add additional units, but the current project really focuses on improving what's there.
Thank you.
Question, Council President. So could you speak a little bit to what would be the transition plan for the residents who are there if you're going to do a full demo or even a rehab? I'm assuming they'd have to temporarily relocate somewhere else while that rehabilitation or full demo is going on. What does that look like, and what kind of notice would they get in advance so that they could plan their life accordingly?
Oh, excellent question. So one of the things that we do is we hire a third-party relocation expert. We have a firm called Housing to Homes who actually has done this in many places across the country, dealing with public housing relocations. This particular development and rehabilitation project, while it will be extensive, we aim to minimize the relocation effort and taking people out of their homes and how long. I will tell you that people will be temporarily relocated, whether it's for a day, whether it's for a week. They will be temporarily relocated. The idea is, in all of these, is to have a kind of a concierge lounge downstairs where if we're doing minimal work in the apartment, let's say it's the last 2 or 3 days of that particular apartment, the residents can stay there. We'll provide food, we'll provide all the things to make that comfortable. If some residents will be relocated to other apartments within the building that are set up for them to stay for several days. When we start getting into really extensive, let's say 504 disability rehabilitations, those particular units take a bit more time. Those residents may need to go to a local hotel. We will handle all of those arrangements in terms of helping them packing for them, moving those things into a storage unit, moving it back in for them, making sure they're located in the hotel, having transportation for them. If they need to go somewhere and get something to eat, whatever would have you. But all relocation is temporary. 100% of the residents are provided the right to come back to the developments once it's complete. I don't know if you want to elaborate.
I'm going to add a little to that, Keith. I got it, thank you. Also, to answer your question, there's a portion what we call deconcentration. Deconcentration means that as you're moving forward, HUD will give us the permission. When we have empty units, vacant units, we don't fill them. We don't fill those particular units. So therefore, through the transition, as Mr. Kennard was saying, there'll be a time where we can move residents into maybe 15 or 20 vacant apartments. So you have 20, you're working on 20 apartments at a time. So that's part of what we call deconcentration. Deconcentration comes through attrition. So that's part of it. The other thing is what we want to, what we do monthly, and we've started 2 months ago. What we do, we speak to all the residents. We have a resident meeting once a month. One for Richmond Towers, one for Joanne Hollis Gardens, to keep everybody abreast to every step that we take. And we make sure we get them all prepared so everybody's fully notified. And again, I'm open door policy. They know how to get to me, one way or the other. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you for that.
You are welcome.
Your time frame that you have, and you said the next 15 months.
15 to 18 months,
15 to 18
realistically.
months.
But
Okay.
we're moving expeditiously.
Okay.
So we're,
Hopefully, I'm thinking in my mind, I don't know, 15 to 18 months, hopefully it'd be somewhere like near the summer or something. So families, like, you know, with their kids and everything, with schools, they have to be relocated
Yes.
as far as schools is concerned. And then you have some parents, sometimes they don't drive. So that would definitely be a concern also as well, is that they have the appropriate transportation, you know, to get around. And then you have the seniors. Well, I know it's I believe three seniors that's on oxygen also as well. I'm sure they'll be like priority.
Absolutely.
As well. So those are the things that I would be definitely concerned with.
we'll make sure, we'll
and then-
keep you abreast of every step of the way.
Yeah.
And all of those concerns have already been taken into consideration, Councilman.
Yeah, and then it might be something that you can partner with the Plainfield Board of Education as far as the transportation is concerned. You know, that would be something you might want to look into as well.
Sure.
You know, just in case it depends on the timing of when it's going to take place.
Absolutely. Contingencies are always important.
Director, one last
Yes,
follow-up
sir.
question. With regard to unforeseen circumstances that could happen with the renovation. We run into plumbing problems, or we run into more issues where we're transitioning to high-efficiency heating. I'm assuming we have enough money in the budget to conquer those circumstances?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's all I want. Thank
Okay.
you.
Everybody
All right,
okay?
thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have consensus to add the economic development items to the voting meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, that should be added. The Department of Health and Social Services is next. Director, welcome.
Good afternoon, Council President and Council. I have one resolution, Resolution 322-25, which is a resolution authorizing a shared service agreement between the City of Plainfield and the City of Elizabeth. This particular shared service agreement is for the lead-based paint inspection program, rental program, that the state has mandated. This is not the first time we presented this resolution. We have to do it every year and a half, every 2 years, because we have 1 year of a renewal. And so this is what we're doing today. It includes all single and two-family rental units and some multiple dwellings, constructed on or after 1978. There are properties that are exempt, but they would have to be exempt through the state.
Any questions from council members? Okay, do we have consensus?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? All right. The Department of Sewer and Solid Waste is next.
Okay, I'm going to speak for Director Louise.
Sure.
He has just one item, which is, he's looking for authorization to purchase a dump trailer. That's to move vegetative waste to the disposal site, and he has this in his capital funds.
Questions from council members? All right, do we have consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? All right. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances on first reading.
Okay, Council President, we have just two ordinances for you this evening, and they are both adopting redevelopment plans that were approved by the Planning Board. The first one is one that you saw also last month, but it's being resubmitted for first reading again.
Any others? You said two? Yeah. They're both okay. Questions from council members? All right, all right, so those on first reading. Do we have consensus to add those as well?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, those shall be added. All right, we'll have a 5-minute recess and return back to the voting meeting.
Recording stop. Recording in progress.
Okay, we will continue our business. We move first to consideration of public hearing, second reading, and final passage. We move on. Madam Deputy, please read MC 2025-27 by title and further certify its compliance with all legal statutory publication requirements.
MC 2025-27 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, County of Union, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the city code so as to amend Article 13 fees, Chapter 17:13-22, which shall be entitled Affordable Housing Development Fee Ordinance. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on July 20th, 2025.
Okay, the floor is now open to any member of the public that would like to speak regarding this ordinance specifically. Hearing and seeing none online, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. May I now have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted?
Second.
Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Roll call MC 2025-27, Council Members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes,
This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
thank you. Madam Deputy, please read MC 2025-28 by title and certify its legal compliance.
MC 2025-28 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union granting a tax exemption with respect to certain property identified on the city's tax map as Block 548, Lot 9, 953-55 West 4th Street, Plainfield, New Jersey, and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with Mubarak Holdings Urban Renewal, LLC, in connection therewith. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on July 20th, 2025.
Okay, the floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak regarding this ordinance specifically. No one's online. Seeing none in person, entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. May I now have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance on final passage?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-28, Council Members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes,
This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
thank you. We now move to MC 2025-29. Madam Clerk, please read it by title and certify its legal compliance.
MC 2025-29 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield in the County of Union adopting the Downtown East Front Street Redevelopment Plan Amendment dated July 2nd, 2025. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on July 20th, 2025.
Okay, the floor is now open for any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance specifically. Is anyone online? Seeing none in the gallery, entertain a motion and a second to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, now, may I now have a motion and a second
So
to,
moved. Second.
roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-29, Council Members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please read MC 2025-30 and certify its legal compliance.
MC 2025-30 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union adopting the West Front Street and Clinton Avenue Redevelopment Plan Amendment dated July 2nd, 2025. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on July 20th, 2025.
Okay, the floor is now open for any member of the public that would like to speak regarding MC 2025-30. Seeing no one online, no one in the gallery, I entertain a motion and a second to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Now may I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage?
So moved.
And if-
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-30, Council Members Briggs Jones.
No.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 opposed. Ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Okay, Madam Deputy, please read the MC 2025-32 and certify its legal compliance.
MC 2025-32 is an ordinance to repeal certain parts of Chapter 16A, Section 1, Schedule 1, no parking. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on July 20th, 2025.
Okay, the floor is now open for any member of the public who would like to speak regarding MC 2025-32. Anyone raise their hand online? Seeing none in the gallery, I entertain a motion and second to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, may I now have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-32. Council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes,
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
thank you.
That concludes ordinances on second reading and final passage.
Okay, we now move on to public comments limited to resolutions and motions being considered this evening. A total of 30 minutes has been allocated for the same. If you are online, the instructions are on the website, on YouTube. The floor is now open. Please state your name, your city, and the resolution or motion that you're speaking regarding.
Hi,
Hello.
good evening. Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Okay, is this general public comment section?
Not yet. It's coming
Okay,
shortly.
Then I'm a little premature. I'll come right back.
All right, we welcome you back shortly.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else, no one online.
There's one person
Okay.
online.
All right, please have them unmute their mic, name and city, and resolution you're speaking regarding, and the floor is yours.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. This is Quane Chambliss, Plainfield, New Jersey. I apologize. I'm from my phone, so I don't have the agenda in front of me, but it is the ordinance from Economic Development regarding public housing and the RAD program.
Go right ahead, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing, because I don't have the number. I just wanted to read it. We're not adding any new senior housing. We're not adding any new family housing. We're just working with the housing that we got. I think that's where we are. Also, I thought it was clear that they were going to rehab and not demolish, but I do know before, when they were talking about demolishing, they were talking about a smaller number of units coming back, reducing that number from 128 to something smaller. If they do that, is that still the plan? And third, I heard the gentleman say that they hired a firm that has a history in being able to help rehouse or rehome people. But I want to make sure that the residents are getting really good information, because he didn't say really how those apartments are going to become available through attrition. And if one of those ways is by Section 8 vouchers, do the residents know that if they do not find affordable housing or a landlord that will take their voucher, they cannot come back to public housing? And then we would have people homeless. So what is the guarantee that we have that we're making sure that the people are getting the right amount of counseling and information, so they're making a wise choice as to whether to wait the process out and allow themselves to be, relocated somewhere else, or take the Section 8 voucher and take the risk that after your extensions are over, if you don't find a place, you no longer have a voucher or a public housing unit. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion and second to close public hearing.
So move.
Okay. So public hearing is closed. You can address the questions.
Thank you. There was a lot to unpackage with that particular question, or questions, but let me just say this. The type of rehabilitation and relocation here is not long-term relocation. These are not Section 8 vouchers that people are going to be given to go live somewhere for a year or 2 years or 3 years. That's normally associated with total demolition and rebuild that requires several years of relocation. This is maybe days to weeks of relocation. There is no Section 8 voucher given to someone to ultimately move. So that part of that question, I hope that addresses that part of that question succinctly. I don't know if there's anything else that, in terms of communication to the residents, I believe and we believe that our philosophy is to over-communicate with the residents. So far, we've had 14 meetings with the residents at both Joanne Hollis Gardens and at the senior building, and we're, as the director mentioned, we're still probably 13 to 15 months away from beginning the actual physical construction. We will continue to have those meetings. We also set up websites dedicated, a website dedicated to Joanne Hollis Gardens and a website dedicated to Richmond Towers, so that the residents can go there at any time and read about any of the questions that they may have about relocation, eventually about scope. They can look at the timeline. Those questions, those websites are constantly monitored. We've had several hundred unique hits from the website, so we did that just in case the residents in between meetings feel as though there's some questions that need to be addressed before we get back to them, let's say the next month. So we continue to address those needs. We have a meeting coming up shortly in which the architect will come out. We'll start dealing with the scope of services, the types of things that will go into the units, the types of things that will go into the building. And those are all things in which the residents will have additional input on. And so they'll be able to help on the selection of the types of floor, the types of appliances, windows, things like that, within the 2 or 3 different choices that we have. So we will continue to communicate, I believe, over-communicate to the residents through this process. I hope that addresses the question.
I think part of the question when it came to density, it depends on the type of architecture if you're going to do a demo, if it would increase or if it would decrease. It would probably decrease if we were to do a demolition because we would try to make the apartments a little bit larger. So again, there's no tenant protection vouchers involved in this particular project. Okay, it's not like the one we did at Elmwood. So folks are allowed to come back if they're in good standing. And the density as we have, we still plan to keep family housing at 128 units, and of course at Richmond Towers, which is our senior housing, 225 units. So that does remains the same. Okay, so I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Okay. All right, we now move to the consent agenda. Clerk, would you please announce the consent agenda?
Yes, Council President. The consent agenda items are Resolution 29025 and 29026 through 32325. Listed on the non-consent is Resolution 29525.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Let's roll call on the consent agenda items. Council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
And Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
That is unanimous. The consent agenda items have been approved. And now we move to Resolution 29525.
Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Roll call 29525. Council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Abstain.
5 in favor, 1 abstention. Resolution's been adopted.
Okay, we now move to ordinance on first reading. Madam Deputy, please read MC 2025-31 by title.
MC 2025-31 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union adopting the TODN North Avenue redevelopment plan amendment dated August 11th, 2025.
Okay, I'll now entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-31, council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
This ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
Okay, MC 2025-33, please.
MC 2025-33 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield in the County of Union adopting the Block 533, Lots 8 and 9 redevelopment plan dated August 7th, 2025.
I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-33, council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on first reading, and that concludes ordinances on first reading.
We now move to general comments. A total of 30 minutes has been allocated for general comments of any nature. If you are online, the instructions are there. The floor is open. You only need to give your name and your city. Your address is no longer necessary.
Okay. Well, I apologize for jumping the gun a minute ago. I'm used to being on the opposite side of this microphone, so it's a little different on this side. So, Sharon Robinson Briggs, Plainfield. Plainfield area NAACP, elected officials, administration, community, and guests, good evening. Again, I'm Sharon Robinson Briggs, and I am proudly the president of the Plainfield area NAACP, and proudly the former mayor of this great city of Plainfield. We have members, partners, and community members who are all very interested and concerned about a specific subject matter, which I will inform you of. We extend our heartfelt sympathy for all who were very negatively impacted by the recent flash floods last month. As I wrote to mayor and council, I was out on Route 22 for one of them for 5.5 hours, and I was terrified. So I can only imagine what others experienced. We extend our heartfelt sympathy for all who were very negatively impacted by the recent flash floods, with special reference and concerns for 4 families in Plainfield who suffered unthinkable, tremendous family tragedies. And we extend blessings, love and blessings to all those families. Thank you for hosting a concert and raising non-city funds to assist with the cost of funerals, property damages, etc. For the totality of situations such as this, the City of Plainfield established a Human Relations Committee. Initially, the committee members, 9 members, served for 1 year. Then it went on to 3 years. The mandate of this commission was, or still is, advice and consulting the mayor, council, administration concerning proposed and existing municipal ordinances or proposed ordinances, administrative directives, and to exercise such powers as what's allocated in New Jersey statutes annotated 10:5-10, and to foster its work of this commission through community effort and establishing goodwill, establishing cooperation between the city and the community. So I have some questions, and I hope that someone will be able to refer me to the appropriate person who will be able to respond, if not today, at some time in the near future, please. So on behalf of the NAACP, we'd like to know exactly how much non-city funds have been raised and or received by the City of Plainfield. How much has been allocated to date for the residents in Plainfield? Does the Human Relations Commission still exist? And if not, please consider voting it back into place. It's really needed. And it's a great opportunity for residents in the City of Plainfield to work with the administration, council, mayor. What is the city policy for allocation of non-city funds, which does not require a special meeting for checks to be written and or allocated? Have the 4 families that unfortunately suffered a fatality and lost, is that my 3 minutes?
You can finish your question, though.
Thank you. And lost beloved family members all been contacted? And does the city policy for these non-city funds include full payment for the 4 funeral invoices, as well as some payments for property damages, which may or may not be covered by homeowners insurance or auto insurance. Good folks, I'm speaking about human beings, human lives, people, residents of this great city who suffered and were lost. Families who will grieve for the rest of their lives. I'm respectfully asking for reconsideration of the non-city funds for entire amounts of funerals to please be compensated. These families, when you think of a funeral, it's more than a funeral. There are lingering expenses that they're going to have to continue to pay, a multitude, but I know that I'm out of time, so I won't go into that. I'm just respectfully asking you to please reconsider. If you were able to raise $90,000, $100,000, thank God, and thank you for doing that. But families, they need your help.
So we will have the administration discuss those items at length at the conclusion of public hearing.
Thank you very much.
All right.
God bless you all.
My name is Omar Whitlock, a resident of Plainfield, and my question is, what is the city doing to help when it's a disaster? I'm sorry, my mother was the one that was lost in this, and I'm being honest, the calls that I got, that the city didn't send nobody out there, I want to know, and my family want to know, what are the city doing when it's issues, when you got a rescue team, what are they doing? So I need an answer, because nobody gave answers. We got played in our face. Yeah, you had a concert. I was told to bring the bill, and then it was played in my face. That's something different. I lost my mother in this. And because of the city failed us, you let my mother stay in that car until the next morning. So I want to know. Right now, the city of Plainfield failed my family, failed the other family. So what is this? So what are y'all doing when it's a disaster to send people out there? They shouldn't wait if they train for it. They shouldn't be told when neighbors call that the fire people is not going out there. The police is not going out there until the water go down. And you pulled my mother out the car at 3:05 Tuesday morning. So I need some answers. But I guess y'all can't get that either. The same way y'all looking, that's what we got. The same way when y'all came to the house and stuff. Talking about you was having a concert to pay for the bill and all of that. You played in my family face, and you did not pay the bill. No answers, right? I got the answer. No answer. I have to say the city can't. I will never vote for none of y'all.
To members of the council, to Mayor Mapp, I do have some questions concerning the disaster that did happen in Plainfield. This was the second time, this is the fourth of my family. I think this is the fourth vehicle we lost in a flood since we've been living in Plainfield, and since 2021, yes. So one of my questions is, are in-kind donations part of this fund, and how are they distributed? My next question is, how are decisions communicated to applicants, and is there an appeal regarding the amount? How will ongoing needs be addressed if the situation extends beyond this emergency? And who is the designated contact? Who oversees the fund's governance? What internal controls exist to prevent fraud or conflicts of interest? Will there be public reporting on distributions, including a list of beneficiaries? Are there audits and reviews planned for these funds? Thank you for your time.
Is anyone online?
Yes, with one hand raised.
Okay. Please, caller, please unmute yourself. Give your name and city.
Hello.
For the record. The floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Darlene Jones, Plainfield, New Jersey. I had a question, a concern, or a comment regarding the storm drains, particularly those on Leland Avenue, because I live in that area. Is there a plan or is there a procedure or a policy where the city Department of Public Works go to each drain basin, take the grate off, and clean out the vegetation? Because a lot of them in my area are clogged. Second comment or question is regarding the brook that runs between, I guess, Enwood Place and Watchung. Is that city property or county property? Thanks.
Does that conclude your remarks? Your questions? I want to make sure you get them all in before you conclude. I think that concludes. All right.
2 more callers.
Hi, how are you? Quanae Chambliss, Plainfield, New Jersey. I'd just like to follow up with my president from the NAACP regards to questions pertaining to how the money will be distributed. How are they going to decide who gets what and how much? Because we know that if the city applied for $5 million for the city to recover what they had to put out as a result of the storm, we know that $95,000 with the number of people who were impacted and affected really is not going to kind of remediate some of the damage. I thought I saw that $5,000 per family who lost someone was allocated. I might be wrong. Maybe something has changed, but you know, at $20,000, that leaves $75,000. Not that you could do much with. So I eagerly await the explanation of how all of this is going to go down, and even how the city gets involved with distributing volunteered funds, and whether or not that was, I don't know. You guys have a lawyer, but anyway, I'm not sure about that. Last, I want to thank the gentleman who spoke out about the housing. If I'm sure that if I heard right, that people will not be offered Section 8 vouchers to leave to try to open up some of those apartments. What wasn't clear was how is the attrition going to happen? Some kind of way people do have to leave voluntarily or be evicted or whatever for those apartments to be opened anyway. So I'm wondering, what is the method of attrition? Everybody have a good night. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the work that you do.
Can I speak?
Sure.
Nancy Pivovar, Myrtle Avenue, Plainfield. First of all, I want to offer and extend my deepest sympathy to the family members and the co-workers of the 2 ladies that passed away, and also to the family members of the 2 gentlemen that passed away on my block. Those 2 storms has impacted this city in ways that I've not seen all the years that I've lived in Plainfield. Many years ago, when I was a lot younger and I could travel around the country, which I don't do anymore, in other areas of the country, there are signs put up. I mean, there's a lot of people in this town now that don't realize where the flash floods happen. We're going to see it more and more. And I don't know, I can offer a suggestion. I looked online. I purchased a couple signs. I'll give them to Mr. Dabney so he can look at them. I had people calling me the night of the flood, the day of the flood, asking where high ground was. I instructed somebody to actually go to the Drake House, and they stayed there for at least an hour, 45 minutes. And then I saw on Facebook pictures that a friend of mine from Berkman put on. People actually went into St. Mary's Cemetery because that was the highest ground. My suggestion, and maybe you've already thought about it, is possibly put up some signs that possible flash flood areas. They did that the last storm. They finally, after the first time in the history of my lifetime, they actually closed off Cedarbrook Park areas where unfortunately the two ladies passed away. I know that area very well because I used to travel that way going back and forth to the post office, and whenever it rained, we all knew not to go that way. But a lot of people aren't unaware of where the areas are, especially like the rail stations, underground, the overpasses, they all flood. So my suggestion is perhaps think about putting up some signs. Somebody said to me, well, who's going to read a sign? If you say one life with a sign, it's worth a sign. And perhaps put up a sign in places that we can identify where high ground is. They even need them along 22, but that's not our issue. That's the state's issue. But people need to know where high ground is. And after this meeting, I'll give the samples to Mr. Dabney so he can have it. But also, on a positive note, I did put together a certificate of appreciation to Mr. Dabney and Department of Public Works because, as you know, I do take care of the Drake House. And whenever there's an issue, and this weekend, within like 48 hours, they did remove a tree that was leaning, and I really appreciate that because if that tree had fallen, it could have fallen on somebody that was walking down Girard Avenue, and I do appreciate it. And I do have a certificate of appreciation for you and your DPW workers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Rosario, Plainfield, New Jersey. I just want to ask a question and refresh some memories. When we had these emergency meetings last month in reference to the flood and the hurricane and everything, are we still looking into getting a sound system possibly to alert everyone in the area? Also, the units that will be rehabbed down along the housing projects. He said that some will be offered housing to come back. What about the ones that will not be offered housing to return? Will the city be responsible to find them homes like they did other families when they had different situations that come along in our city of Plainfield? And will it be tax funded? Meaning the resident, will we be responsible for those bills? That's my questions and my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, floor is yours.
Thank
Name
you.
Name and city.
Regina Harley, Plainfield, New Jersey. I have another concern that when the families of the deceased members did approach the city, I just would like to know if perhaps there can be someone that's actually trained and trauma informed, because the way that you respond to victims and family members, friends, really has a lot to do with how they receive and how they're going to process what you're saying. So if you have trauma-informed training, that will definitely help. The next thing that I saw, from July 4th until July 14th, I saw still trees that were cut up, still on some of the sides of the roads, which I think attributed to some of the flooding, because the more rain that came down on those trees that had leaves in it meant it's going to wash into the gutters and further clog up the drains. So will there be more workers hired in the city? We know that it's floods in Plainfield, and these are taxpayers in Plainfield living in these houses. Will there be more people hired? What will happen in between the time that the city receives that money that you're looking for from the businesses to come in and pay for whatever is wrong in the city and the sewage and different things? What will happen in the meantime until those things happen? So there has to be some other teams available beside just 911. You need to also look to the members and residents of Plainfield for answers, because they have the answers, pretty much the ones that are living in those areas, on what to do in the meantime. I know what you're probably thinking, but a lot of times the answers are within, the resolutions are within to help out until these other plans go through.
Okay, seeing no
There's
one.
2 hands still up.
Okay.
Caller ending in 149, you can unmute yourself unless you didn't mean to raise your hand.
Okay. Go to the next one.
Caller ending in 396, you can unmute yourself unless you didn't mean to raise your hand.
Hello. Terry Spoda Cavell, Plainfield, New Jersey. Back in June, I believe it was, I sent Councilwoman Cherry
Still with us?
Plainfield, New Jersey. Back in June, I believe it was.
Your volume, please speak more directly into the microphone on your device. I can't hear you clearly.
Of the corner of Watchung Avenue and 2nd Street in front of the post office, the handicapped crossing square that they have there. You cannot ride on it. It is very bad. She sent me a text back. What's the saying that he had spoken with the postmaster, and it is the postmaster's problem or thing to fix. Here it is August, and I haven't heard anything else, and as of this past Saturday, it still has not been fixed. You can't ride on the other side of the street on Watchung Avenue across from the post office. Because the sidewalks there are horrible, and there's a driveway there, and you can't even get through it. So I'm just wondering, who do we need in authority? Talk to the postmaster and get it fixed. Thank you.
Who's going to take that one?
And there's another caller now with their hand raised.
No problem. Caller, the floor is yours. Name and city you live in. Call them out by their number.
Ending 268, please unmute yourself.
Okay. We gave our best effort to include as many as we could. Entertain a motion to.
Hello?
Oh. Yeah, you
Hi.
there? Name and
Yes,
city.
hi. My name
Floor
is
is
Sharon
yours.
Rosario, Plainfield. Can you hear me? Sharon Rosario, Plainfield. How you doing?
Well, floor is yours.
Well, I just want, hello? Yes. I would like to just thank my councilwoman, Briggs. She is wonderful. When we have these issues with informing the public, she came right in
And, you know, she was knocking on doors, she was delivering water, and there was no fanfare with her. So I just want everybody to know how hard she works and how I appreciate her hard work. She's here on the ground. She's informing the residents on the west end, 4th Ward. So I just want to say thank you and let everybody know a good job that she's doing and how she's out here every day informing the residents, letting us know what's going on, taking our questions, and running our concerns. And, you know, it's very important that we get that feedback because we, the public, has voted you guys in. So when we're ignored, we feel hurt. But when we have a councilwoman like Briggs who's actually concerned about what's going on in the community and not just her community, we appreciate that, and that needs to be noted. And I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you.
Thank you for your comments. That is noted. Okay. All right. Entertain a motion and a second to close public comment.
Second.
Okay. Administration, if I know we need to discuss the grant and the donation funds and any other items that that the community wants you to speak about. Go right ahead. Floor is yours.
Okay. So I will speak about the grant applications and that process, and then I'll turn it over to Director Dabney on the other issue. The first thing I want to say is that I really want to clarify that the $5 million that we had a special meeting about is completely separate and apart from the money that we have to spend on residents who've applied for recovery funds. Legally, we can't touch that $5 million. We are paying, that $5 million will be paid back by the city over the next 5 years. So those are tax dollars, not donation dollars. In terms of donation dollars, we have about $95,000 pledged in donations, and I want to clarify that I'm saying pledged because if you look in the account right now, you won't see $95,000. You'll see significantly less than that. And that's why we had an August 1st deadline, and I know it was a quick turnaround, but we really needed to make sure we could capture everybody and figure out how much money we have and how many residents applied. We did have over 400 applications for the money that we have, the donation money. And the first thing that we did with those funds, and again, we don't have in our possession all of the $95,000, but the first thing we did with the funds that we had was we did make $5,000 payments to funerals. With the remaining funds, we have a committee. Committee is made up of members of finance, members of social services team, members of the administrative team, and that committee is going over application by application for all 400 of them. We are documenting which requests have receipts and invoices and which don't. That was a requirement for the funds to have a receipt or at least a quote. So anything that doesn't have that will not be considered. That spreadsheet is also being we've also identified all of the seniors in that spreadsheet. Because if you're a senior and you're a homeowner, as long as you're income eligible, you can then instead apply for the county funds, which are up to $10,000 for repairs. So we feel that that's much more beneficial to the seniors, and therefore they'll be coming off of our list of applicants. So that 400 will come down by the amount of seniors eligible for the county grant. Once we have a final count of how many applicants we have and what their provable expenses were via the receipt or the invoice, we will then give a percentage of the request to each applicant. So based on how, depending on what amount of money we have, what percentage that is of the total ask, then that will be distributed based on percent. So let's say just for ease of math, we get 10% of, what we have is 10% of what's requested. Then everybody will get 10% of what they personally requested. That's a verifiable expense. So if you applied for $10,000, you'd get 10% of that. If you applied for $500, you'd get 10% of that. And that speaks to not everybody had the same amount of damage. So, you know, if you had a small amount of water versus if your entire basement was flooded, and it's not comparable, so that's why we're doing it by a percentage and not a flat number. Residents who will be given those funds will have to come in and fill out a W-9 for the city. We'll go through our regular purchase order process, which is a state process. You'll fill out a purchase, we'll do the purchase order. Once you do your W-9, it will go through finance, it will go through audit and control, and then the check will be cut. All of this is public information, just like any of our other checks are public information. And there's nothing different about this process than any process by which we distribute money. And that's the process. I'm sad that, you know, it's not going to make everybody happy, but it is the process that we have in place that we believe to be the fairest, most equitable process.
And Mr. President, if I may add, the business administrator used a 10% as an example. So I don't want anyone leaving with the impression that if they submitted a request for $100,000, that they're going to receive a check for $10,000. I want to be very clear. That was just an example that was used. But the city did all that it could to assist families in this very difficult time that we have been experiencing over the last several weeks. And it is not something that a city normally does. Cities don't pay for funerals. Cities don't have these kinds of funds to help in these situations. But because these events happen in the way that they did, the city decided that it would go above and beyond the call to create some level of support that might be able to assist affected families financially. We always knew that there was no way that we would be able to meet the needs of every person who incurred an expense. And so there was a letter that we published earlier this week, which was meant to temper expectations so that residents are not of the view that they're going to be receiving a check for the expenses that they have submitted to the city of Plainfield. If you do the simple math, $95,000, and that amount could rise to $100,000, $105,000. That doesn't go very far. And when you take $15,000 off the top, because we were very generous in assisting the families who lost loved ones, and it pains us to see people struggling and going through these very difficult and challenging times. But we did all that we could to try to raise as much as we could from relatives, from friends, from neighbors, from several of the vendors that we deal with, from foundations, and we were able to raise a little short so far of $100,000. So we have to be realistic in our expectations. And that was the reason for the letter that went out earlier this week, to temper expectations so that residents know that we cannot meet all of their needs. We cannot meet their expectations because $100,000 can only go but so far, especially when you're talking about, what, 400? Over 400 applications. I mean, just do the simple math, and it tells you what that looks like. So we are very sorry for all of those who suffered significant losses, especially the families who lost loved ones. And believe me, we did everything that we could. And it pains us that we couldn't do more. But the special emergency, which we adopted a couple weeks ago, was intended based on the statutes of the state of New Jersey to cover expenses incurred by the city as a result of these emergencies. And those funds would have to be paid back by property owners in the city of Plainfield by way of their tax bills. And so next year, there ought to be no surprises because you have to pay the piper. And that is what these storms have done to us, caused us to incur significant unexpected expenses that have to be repaid. But in the meantime, we have to rebuild all of the damage that was caused by these storms to city property, and we have to restore things to a state of normalcy. And that is our goal, and that's what we're working on. And if there's any way that we could find to assist affected families that we have not yet identified, we will search for those means of doing so. But right now, it is what it is. We have a little less than $100,000, and we will let that stretch as far as is possible. But know that we dealt fairly with the families who lost loved ones, and there's nothing more that we could have done under the circumstances. Thank you.
Okay. Director, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. To the person that called regarding the post office at Watchung and 2nd Street, the handicap ramp, it was brought to my attention by Councilwoman Cherry, the mayor himself as well. We did reach out to the postmaster, who was supposed to look at that and take care of it and get it done. I will make sure that we follow with that tomorrow, my office, and I will personally go there myself to see what's going on. Of course, that should have been addressed by now. We didn't hear anything back, but we will definitely follow up on that to make sure that is totally addressed. We have zero tolerance for something like that to be done from a federal agency that should be addressing issues like that. But whatever action does not be taken, we will take it ourselves to make sure that's addressed, because we want everyone to be able to cross the street and make sure all our handicap ramps are safe. So we will definitely look into that and make sure that's addressed. In terms of storm drains, we are cleaning storm drains across the city on a daily basis. That will not stop. Leland Avenue itself, we will check that to see what vegetation is growing out of it and address that. And want everybody to know too that when you put things to the curb or with debris on the street, that winds up in your storm drain. Yard waste, everyone generates that, so you're going to have that at the curb always. We have tree-lined streets throughout the city of Plainfield. So we're going to address everything we can in terms of with vegetative waste at the curb, etc. We're definitely proactive with this to make sure we address everything, even with our detention basin. We're making sure we keep that clean and make sure things are right with that. We're addressing everything citywide to make sure we meet the needs of the city of Plainfield. We've always done it. We're going to continue to do that. When you get the type of rain that we had, there's nothing that can be done until, of course, that does recede so we can address issues. But we are on that on a daily basis. That's a guarantee to everyone here. Pass it along. Wherever you see a storm drain, call our office. You see something going on, we'll address it. But that's for everybody to know that we take pride in what we're trying to do to make sure everyone is safe with that, with storm drains, etc. We're addressing everything. I think that was pretty much it. The flash flood warning signs, Nancy, I'll look at that. We'll see what we have and do that. It's something we thought about too administratively to make sure we address a lot of issues. So we thank you for that.
We'll probably also have to work with the county on that, since that's a county park in terms of the signage, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And there was one other question that was asked about an early warning system.
Yeah, sound or a siren of some sort.
And yes, we have started working on that for the last few weeks, and we have an upcoming meeting, and that is a priority of this administration.
Okay.
So you will be seeing that. Residents will see the evidence of that, so that when events are about to occur, when we have these weather warnings, we would not have to just rely on the alerts that come on our phones. Those sirens will be blasting across the entire city of Plainfield. And they'll be heard externally as well as internally. And so it's a priority of this administration.
All right. Okay. I think that we've answered questions. Go right ahead, VP.
Sure. I mean, when people are informed of a loved one's death, that comes from the police department, and they do have special training in how they're informing family members.
Council President, do we still have the Human Relations Committee?
Yes, there's still a Human Relations committee, and I believe they meet from time to time, but there still is. I know one person that's on the committee is John Brinkley, and it still has a number of members. How frequently does this committee meet? I do not know, but it does still exist. Yes. Every member is appointed with advice and consent. And there has always been a shortage of members on that commission. So we are open to taking recommendations to make sure that it is up to its full complement based on the ordinance that's in place.
Thank you.
Well, if we get a committee for the OEM team, I'm down. I'll come on your team, Sergeant.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, I'll entertain a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.